Well, welcome to this episode of the Young Parents, the YP Support Group. I'm Rob Jin. I'm the leader of the Young Dads Group. And every week, we kind of aim to bring a guest to share some helpful and hopeful resources. So this week, we want to take the moment to honor fathers. Why? What? You guys are special, and it's Father's Day coming up on June 15th. So to help us do that, I want to welcome a fun guy, not a fun guy. You get it? All right. Jared Mortley. I met Jared because he was coming in to do a workshop for our Young Dads group titled The Top 10 Things I Wish I Knew Starting as a Dad. Things didn't kind of work out as planned, so we've asked him to come back and just to share a bit from that workshop that he planned. Now, Jared comes to us from Intervarsity Christian Fellowship, aka IVCF. He's also a dad. He's married to his wife, Leah. But let's get him to share about his life, about the favorite things in life and ministry and work. And he's going to help us do a countdown on the top 3 advice that he has for all our dads out there. So let's give a big warm welcome to Jared Mortley. Hey, Jared.
All right. Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Hey, not bad. Good to see you again.
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me here. And I guess I wanted to share a little bit, like you said, kind of life and ministry stuff. And I work for Intervarsity. And for those of you guys who don't know, they do campus ministry. I get to do high school campus ministry in Toronto. And that means weekly I get to go into some high schools and meet with students with their Christian clubs, talk about what does it look like for them living out their faith in Jesus in their school and trying to have an impact. And I love it. It's pretty cool getting to kind of be there in their daily lives, hanging out with their friends at their school, talking about things that they're going through. And like you said, I'm a dad. I've been married to my wife, Leah, now for 6.5 years. It'll be 7 in August. So it's kind of crazy to think about. And, I really need to thank her. She's the one that made me a dad. So, and I couldn't do it without her. She encourages me. She helps me a lot. She kicks my butt and kind of sets me straight when I need it. So that's really helpful.
Nice. That's a great companion.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And we got 2 kids. I have a daughter. Her name's Iris. She's 3.5. And my son Theodore, he'll actually be 16 months old on Father's Day.
Ooh.
And it's great. I wanted to show you guys a picture here. Let's see. I'll show you guys them. So here's, hopefully this technology works. So this is them. Oh, this is the realistic view of my family on most days. We try to get pictures that look like this. More often than not, they look like the other one, and
or is it before after?
Yeah, there you go. It's like, yeah, exactly, before and after. And so they're great, and I love them. And I love being a dad, and being in ministry, having kids is great. My kids, sometimes they come to youth group with me, and students will babysit. And I think it's really good that the students get to be around kids, and they learn a lot from just hanging out with little kids and kind of thinking about what kind of example am I setting and all those kinds of things. So that's been pretty cool. So, like you said, I'm going to try to share kind of my top 3 tips that I've been thinking about for dads, because it's really important. Being a dad has been really challenging. It's a lot of work, and we got to stick together. So, I wanted to share some of these things. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So here's tip number 3, counting down to 1, is, if you've ever heard of it, there's a thing called the 5 love languages. And it's all about figuring out how your children and maybe in your partner and you communicate, give and receive love. And the 5 love languages it's words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, and physical touch. And everybody kind of gives and receives loves in different ways. I give love mostly through acts of service and spending quality time. So I feel loved when people, go out of their way to do something nice for me and just spend time hanging out. I'm totally happy with that. Whereas, for example, sometimes people will give me a gift and I have to make the effort to make sure that I'm like, oh, like, thank you so much. Because sometimes I just don't always realize, like, oh, this is a way that they're kind of saying, I love you. And then at the same time, I have to make the effort to give gifts because I'm just not a gift kind of person. But an example, like my daughter, I've had to pay attention. She loves quality time and physical touch. So something like she'll get a book and then we'll just cuddle on the couch and read that book together, and she feels really loved. And I'm not a super huggy guy all the time, so I got to think about that. And she, I'll try to do an act of service for her, and she's just kind of like, okay, thanks, Dad. Like, doesn't feel the same way. So, I think there's ways though just to pay attention, kind of. So I'm learning how to speak her love language so that she knows she's loved. And that's a thing that's, I think, really important for kids to know that they're loved, to pay attention to how they give and receive love. For younger kids, it takes a little bit of time figuring it out, what their love language is. Like Theodore, he can barely even talk yet. So we're figuring that out with him. And if you want, there are some places online. Like if you just look up the 5 love languages child quiz, you'll find some stuff, and you could, all those internet quizzes, but they're good. They're helpful. So it helps you have kind of clear expectations of yourself and to focus your efforts to show your kids like, hey, I love you, Dad loves you, and I know how to show you that. So yeah, that's tip number 3.
Awesome.
So tip number 2 is a really important one. It's a hard one. Probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned since being a dad, and it's about vulnerability and really honesty, about being honest about how you're doing. And being a parent, being a dad is really hard. We make mistakes, and it's important to be honest about that. It's important to kind of own up to those mistakes so that we can grow. And it's good for our kids, for us to be learning from our mistakes and helping model that for them, show them, we can be humble and we can say sorry and that kind of stuff. But in order to do that, my tip would be find 1 or 2 people that you can be honest with about how you're really doing, and who will be honest with you, give you good feedback, that'll help you, that'll encourage you, that'll kind of set you straight when you need it. For me, my little brother, he's a new dad, and he's one of those people for me. I'll talk to him and I'll call him and say, hey, this is kind of happening. Here's how I'm doing. And he'll encourage me if I'm, he lets me know when I need to apologize and when I need to fix something, and he encourages me to do that. And then my wife, like I said, I could talk to her about things, and it's important that it's not a weakness, right? It's not a weakness, guys, if you're to say, I'm really struggling with this. I don't understand how to do this thing. Or for me, sometimes I struggle with balancing work and life and kids. And so I just have to be honest, like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. Somebody want to give me some advice here? And it's, and then we learn and we grow, and yeah, it could be hard to be honest, right? But it's probably one of the biggest, most important lessons that I've learned as a dad. So that's tip number 2.
I agree with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like I'm perfect at it, right? I feel like I say that and I sound so, you know, I could sound so mature saying it, and then I know that today probably I'll mess up, and I'll be okay. I got to be honest with how I'm doing. So it's good. It's, you know, moving forward. And yeah. Well, all right. So here's tip number one, and this is one that I've been kind of working on more lately, and it's the idea of having a character goal that you're reaching for as a dad, as a parent, and because so there's a saying, if you've heard it or not, it's the idea that more is caught than taught, right? Our kids are watching not just what we do, but they're watching how we do it. And, you know, I see my daughter this morning, my son, he's paying such close attention. Like, I watch my daughter play with her dolls, and then my son goes over and does the exact same thing, right? And I watch the kids interact, and I think, okay, they're watching me. How am I living? And a friend of mine, I get to work at a camp in the summer, and I work with a leaders in training program with high school students. And the director, he's got this saying where he says, you know, as leaders, which really we are as parents for our kids, we're leaders. He says you need to model, coach, and then require. And so it's like this idea, like if we want our kids to act a certain way, to learn certain behaviors, then like I need to be modeling that for my kids. If I want them to be thankful, if I want them to, an example, like I've been making the effort of, I don't like cleaning my room and making my bed when I get up in the morning and going and doing things, but I want my kids to be responsible. And so I model that behavior, right? I say, hey, when we make a mess, we clean up after. And so I model it, then I coach it. So I do it with them. And then I kind of say, okay, like now you can do it on your own, right? Like you're learning how to do this on your own. And I have to catch myself, because sometimes, especially like Theodore is not quite at that point, but with Iris, I will catch myself trying to require something from her that she's never seen me do. Like I've never modeled it for her. And I'm trying to say, hey, you should do this, but I don't even expect myself to do it. So I think that's something, is modeling the behavior. And so to do that, I have a goal that I've been working towards. I've made a clear goal of who I kind of want to be as a dad. And it's picked after, it comes from the Bible. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If you're familiar with that, it's the love chapter. And it says, love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's not proud, it's not rude, it loves not selfish, it's not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love doesn't delight in evil, but it rejoices in the truth. It always protects, and it always trusts, it always hopes, and it always perseveres. And, you know, I look at that, and I want my kids to be able to say, you know, my dad is patient, my dad is kind, my dad doesn't envy, he's not rude, and that kind of thing. So that's why I picked that one. And it's helpful to have that clear goal. And I mess up on this all the time, obviously. Like, we're never perfect, and that's where that vulnerability and honesty piece comes in. But I keep working towards that goal. And I want my kids to strive towards that. So I'm going to work towards that first. So that's a tip I give to you, is try to pick a clear goal that you want to model for your kids. Or if it's something like that, like, I mean, there's a quote from the Bible, but you can also pick a person. Maybe there's somebody that you see who's a parent, and you say, I want to be like that person. And you kind of set out, like, say, like, they are like this, and I want to be like that. So, so that's my number one tip. Those are my top 3 tips for dads and for moms. And I hope they're helpful.
Thanks so much, Jared. I got one more last question for you.
Sure.
What excites you? What excites you about being a dad?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just love being a dad. Like I said, I'm in youth ministry, and I just like having fun. I love just playing with my kids. One of the things that we've been doing a lot lately, like, we're kind of stuck at home, and my daughter's bed has turned into our trampoline slash wrestling pit, and I just love doing that kind of stuff. Like, we wrestle and we tickle, and we've been having dance parties in the kitchen, and the real thing about that is just getting to watch them grow
Mm,
and experience life in a different way. Theodore's learning to clap,
mm,
and Iris, when we're playing, her brother falls down and she's learning, okay, how do I help him up? And it's so cool to see that, how much kids learn by doing stuff. And so I just love doing stuff with them. And I think that being a dad's been really, really tough some days. And it's helped me to be a better person. And I know that when it helps me to think about them, really, like, how are they doing, when I get up in the morning and I try to think, how is my family doing, that helps me grow to learn to put other people first. And so it's exciting, but it's hard. And but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So that's I love it.
wow, wow. Thank you, thank you. Well, there you have it, dads and moms. I hope that's we hope that's helpful and hopeful for you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jared, for your time. Thank you for your honesty and just transparency about that being a dad. It's it's a lot of exciting thing, but it's also not easy. I think sometimes
Yeah.
there's a stereotypical picture that being a dad is kind of you gotta be this perfect person, but it sounds like it's more than that. So hey,
Yeah.
blessings to you and your family and the work you do with those students, and blessings to all you dads out there. Happy Father's Day, and however you're gonna celebrate, happy Father's Day to you as well, Jared. So until
Thanks.
next time, may hope be your guide as you make the most out of your moments with your kids and your family. So take care and peace.